mother, Wanda's my baby sister, and Oscar also was my very first nephew, so we had an extremely close relationship. Let me ask, you just seen the trailer. How many of you actually seen the movie Fruitvale Station by show of hands? Well, for all those that have seen it, really, seriously, from the family, we thank you for supporting the movie and feeling our pain. And for those who haven't seen the movie, if you can, next month it will be shown here. We'll have a talk back. Just to let you know that the movie is 99% accurate. So those that have seen it, I'm sure you may have some questions on whether, is this a rendition of a story of Oscar or is it really true? 99% of it is true. So let me pause for a second and say something about a very dear friend of Oscar's named Chris Rafferty. He was just shot today in the head. So there's right now much pain, and hurt, and confusion, you can imagine. Because right now, they couldn't perform the surgery because he's having too many seizures. And the doctor has said that if they perform the surgery, that he may, if he survived, be a vegetable. So this is extremely painful because not long ago, Oscar also lost his best friend, John, too. And both of these young men were on the platform with Oscar at the time he was murdered at Fruitvale Park Station. So that's what we're going through right now. What I was going to talk about, there was a video that I wanted you all to see right before I spoke because I really was going to tailor what I was going to share around this video. And it's by Janet Jackson. It was a dedication to the Black Lives Matter movement. But you can go to the Oscar Grant, not the Oscar Grant, but the Love My Blood campaign website, and you can actually view this video that I wanted to share with you all today because it really speaks volumes to what's happening today. Martin Luther King talked about the love community way back in 1957. And I hope all of us understand what he spoke about, wrote about the beloved community, what he was saying. How many have actually read, what is the beloved community? Can I see a show of hands? Okay, very few. In order, this is very important. In order to create a beloved community that Martin Luther King talked about, we have to first understand what is a beloved community. So, your homework today is to read the writings of Martin Luther King concerning the beloved community, so that we all can understand the path that we must take in order to get there. Because without that, we can never get there. Without understanding what Black Lives Matter, we cannot never get there. Without understanding and having empathy toward the pain that we suffer for the loss of my nephew, Oscar Grant, we cannot get there. And so, I think since I don't have Janet Jackson to tailor my conversation, I'm going to jump back in time for a moment just to share some things to bring it to today and why Black Lives Matter. Many of you probably heard of the Middle Passage. Let me ask, how many have heard of the Middle Passage? Okay, those that know what the Middle Passage is, great. But for those that don't, the Middle Passage had to do with what slavery entailed in bringing us here to the United States. But there's many documents that share that over 30 to 50 million black folks died just in the Middle Passage before getting here. There was a writer named Sean King just recently wrote in November of 2015 in the New York Times that spoke about the lynching that took place here in the United States. And what he identified from 1892 to 1964, there have been 3,445 lynchings. But then he searched for what was the most in 1 year. So in 1891, they had over 100 lynchings just in 1 year. Okay. Then he decided to take a block of time. So he took from 1991 to 1901 and discovered that it averaged 100 per year, which came out to about 1,000 that died in that decade. That was the worst decade of lynching that took place. And what he also discovered from 1892 to 1964, only one person was ever found guilty of the murder of a young black person, whether it been a child, female, or male. Only one person out of that entire time. So what we have to understand here is what's happening today. The only way we can create a beloved community is that we have to face some real hard issues. And we have to understand that in order for this change to occur, it's going to require all of us to get involved. And before I go any further, I'm going to share a quote that really resonates with me when I speak, because I share it, because it's important that we get there. Martin Luther King said this: cowards ask, is it safe? Expediency asks, is it political? And vanity asks, is it popular? But conscience asks, is it right? There comes a time when neither safe, political, or popular is the reason why you stand. You stand because it is right. It is my hope and belief that all of you that are here are willing to stand because it is right. Because we need all of you in this movement to bring real systemic change in this society. Now back to the story of this history. So Sean King of the New York Times wrote this article. You can read this article for yourself, because I'm not making this up. And what he discovered that from 2005 to 2014, out of all the shootings that took place, which were many, only 54 officers were ever charged. And 90% of them, actually 95% of them, actually were given a justifiable homicide. So what we see is on a regular, consistent basis, black life being killed, and no one is held accountable. Matter of fact, it is so eerie in this state and time that we're in, it is actually even more atrocious than the period of time during lynching. The reality to bring real change is that we're going to have to look at what was done to correct the issues so that we can move forward. Because we'll never get to the beloved community that Martin Luther King spoke about. And so I want us all to always remember, when we hear that verbiage, Black Lives Matter, think about them black folks that came across that middle passage and died, and how many of them. Verify these numbers. Really look at our history, because we have not arrived. And our faith to look at our history puts our babies at tremendous jeopardy. This is not about me. This is not about us, because most of us here are not students. I don't see too many children here. This is about our babies. And our faith to stand, to speak to this, to bring this society to a better place, will create an atmosphere for these babies like no other that we've ever seen in this world. We are at a state of emergency. We are. This very foundation of this country is hemorrhaging on Black Lives Matter. Don't get mad at us when we say Black Lives Matter, because Black Lives Matter, but we also know all lives matter. But if we fail to include Black life in the all lives, none of our lives matter.
Right.
I don't want to overtalk my time. I don't see no timing. Let me know where I'm at, because I can talk. How much time do I have? Okay. This way I can tailor this right. And I believe I heard it earlier. Martin King said, "A threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." that you see in this video rotating are basically families that we actually personally have met and spent time with. Almost all of them, not quite all of them. There is a real major problem right now in our society when it comes to this issue concerning Black Lives Matter. And we are absolutely clear that in order for it to change, it's going to require a mass movement of people that don't look like me involved in this movement to bring real freedom, justice, and equality to everyone. That was what Martin Luther King was about. That's what he spoke to us about. The beloved community idea sprung up in 1957. Are we there yet? We have work to do. I get really emotional about this issue because my nephew was murdered. I felt the pain. I experienced the injustice in the criminal justice system. And I'm going to share 3 scenes since I have a few minutes left. It's just in the courtroom so you can understand. Our very first day in court, Judge Robert Perry pointed out I'm not intimidated by my mob.
What?
If you do not make all the people go away, I will make this case last 5, 7, 10 years or longer until they all go away. I want you to do that. In the middle